Yeah, hello everyone. It's Royce here, and I want to thank you all for joining me on my Sunday night live podcast. This is video, I believe, number 320, all of which are always available for you to go watch at any time on my YouTube channel, Royce in the House. And I also want to mention that, I just got a notification that my show is live. Thank you for all the bell ringing and stuff. Anyway, I also want to mention that. So we've got multiple playlists. It's not just a live podcast music based. There's another music based show with some shorter pre-recordeds on it. That's called, oh my God, losing my mind. Up close and personal, and it's got a lot of great short stories. I mean, stuff like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath Lost Jam Session, Ozzy Osbourne's Comeback from Hell. I mean, there's just all kinds of mixed stuff in there. And then there's other playlists too. We've got tours of famous places. We've got Why We Love the Central Coast, and of course, I have Royce Construction with some construction how-to videos. And Betty and I have Royce and Betty Eddings, real estate agents at Navigators Real Estate, the Eddings duo. Anyway, so there's a lot of fun stuff there to watch. But tonight, this is going to be a great show, because I will tell you all right now, this is one of my absolute favorite bands, Creedence Clearwater Revival. Hold on, I'm going to put my link up one more time, because I think Sir James may be wanting to join me here, and anybody else that wants to join me, just hit that link I just put up and hop aboard. So, Creedence Clearwater Revival, commonly called CC&R, and even just plain simply Creedence. Okay, it's an American band that was formed in El Cerrito, California. Born on the Bayou and all this kind of almost a little southerny, swampy type music. You would not think they were from California, but they are. They're from California. Okay, let's get Michael back on here. Here we go. We've been joined
Where
by
did I go?
been joined by Michael
Hi,
Nolan,
Chris.
the bottom line. We've been joined by Chris Elliott, another podcaster. And look at this. We've been joined by Sir James Bowie Sinatra Lenny White Lennon. Okay.
That's a
It's a pleasure
mouthful.
to be
Was
here,
that
gentlemen.
White Lennon or White Linen? I'm not
White.
Lennon.
Lenny
Okay,
White
Lennon.
is a jazz drummer.
How you doing, James?
I'm
I
doing
saw
great.
I saw a bit of your stream today, the puppet show. It was cool.
Oh, that guy turned out to be a
You
whack job.
really
Oh,
well.
man.
You're all I can say, James, is your Miss Piggy is absolutely divine.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good to see you, James. Thanks for joining us. James, what is the name of your live show?
Uh, it's called Sunday Fun Day,
Sunday Fun Day. Okay, that's right.
Right,
That's right.
and then I
Okay,
have themes on different Sundays. If it's someone's
Yeah.
birthday or something,
Right.
or a special thing going on.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite bands of all times, Creedence Clearwater Revival. Why are they one of my favorite bands of all time? Because I absolutely love their music, and I love it as much today as I did in 1969 when I bought that very first 8-track. I just got my first car, 55 Chevrolet 2-door, cherry, white, black interior. I just put an 8-track tape deck in it. I was working out one of the casinos in Vegas in the kitchen, 16 years old. And I put that 8-track in it, and I'd been hearing Creedence Clearwater on the radio. And I jammed into Las Vegas, went to the record store, and I bought my first ever 2 8-tracks, Creedence Clearwater Bayou Country and the Cream Disraeli Gears. I bought those at the same time. And I'd also, I bought the stereo new. I don't know where I picked up the light bar, but I had one of those light bars that mount underneath the dash and pulsate to the beat of the music. It put on quite a show at night when you were driving down the highway. The lights were just coming out of all the windows.
Those were the days, folks.
Yes, they are. Dr. Rick, good to see you, brother. Hope all is well. Okay,
Hi, Dr. Rick.
So
Hello, Dr. Rick.
Creedence Clearwater, like I was saying, CC&R, Creedence, they're called a lot of different things, all good. Formed in El Cerrito, California. and the band consisted of lead vocalist, lead guitarist, primary songwriter John Fogerty, his brother, rhythm guitarist Tom Fogerty, Stu Cook, the bassist, and Doug Clifford, the drummer. Okay, these members had played together, and I didn't know this until I started really researching this, but they'd played together since 1959. Michael, did you know that?
Oh yeah, right in high
Okay.
school. They were like the hottest high school band, and at first it was Tom who was in charge and the lead singer.
Okay.
By the way, and he was the one that was out of the four set to go on to a professional career, and they wound up backing him up in some demos. And during the course of those demos, of course, John started to blossom, and he kind of took center place with the band, you know. And I don't think Tom was ever very comfortable with that. But Tom had a good voice, and if he had made it just as a cover artist, I could see that happening. But he wasn't the songwriter that his brother was, and his brother developed his whole style of songwriting within months. That's part of the miracle.
That's amazing. So in 1959, they called themselves the Blue Velvets. What band wasn't called the Blue Velvets at one time or another? Then they changed the name to the Golliwogs. Golliwogs? Do I have that right? Yeah, the Golliwogs. Before finally settling on Creedence Clearwater Revival. But in
1967. So, folks, we're talking about a true 60s band, even though the most of their fame started from probably 70. You know, 69, the stirrings were there and everything. But they were a full-on 60s band. And they, to me, they're the ultimate garage band in rock and roll. Oh, my God.
I love that band, man. You know, from 69 to 71, they produced 14 consecutive top 10 singles, mostly double A-sides, okay? And then they also produced 10 albums. Let's see, they produced five consecutive top 10 albums in the United States. Five is what I had, but it could be 9. But I
no, no. If you said 10, I was saying 9 because I never count their last their last album.
Right.
It has Sweet Hitchhiker on it, and I think maybe one other Fogerty tune, and the rest of it is just Clifford and Cook pretending that they were like him, you know, as far as songwriters.
Right. Well, 2 of their top albums released at that time were Cosmosfactory and Greenriver. And they were also the first major band to be signed to play at Woodstock in 1969. Okay. They disbanded in 72. After all this chart-topping success, they were having a lot of trouble. They were at odds with first of all, Tom Fogerty left, and John Fogerty was at odds with the remaining members. They were having fights over, you know, control of the music and things like that. And then he also was having a fight with the Fantasy Records owner, and that led to more court cases. So he was going to court with all the former members. He was going to court with their record label.
What was his name, Royce? I didn't get a chance to. I've done a video on him.
You know what? I actually nixed it from my notes earlier.
Yeah, okay, but the guy that was the head of Fantasy Records is one of rock and roll's true villains, right up there with Jan Winter.
Okay.
He couldn't get a big enough piece of the pie, and he used Doug Clifford and Stu Cook desires and immediate needs to get their voting rights, and eventually just absolutely locked John Fogerty. Can you believe this? Locked him out of that band, and even because of everything happening, and we'll probably get into that later, he couldn't write or record for a long time, and when he did come back, that son of a bitch tried to sue him for sounding too much like
Too much
John
like himself.
freaking Fogerty.
I know.
Yeah.
That was the craziest thing I ever heard.
The old man.
But you know what, Royce? And I've covered this, and this gives me some bragging rights here. I covered when he got his rights back here last year.
I remember that.
And John Fogerty got in touch with me on my channel and said, "Thanks for your support," or something like that. That was like me interviewing Terry Draper. You know,
right.
Only John Fogerty is one of those. It's his song. You know me and songwriters. I love great songwriters.
Oh yeah.
And Fogerty is one of the grandmasters in rock, and he invented his own genre of rock and roll while he invented his style of writing. You know, he got that. These guys were from the Bay Area, and you listen to their music, and you could have swore they came from the swamps of the Great Mississippi.
I know.
You know,
I said something similar to that when I first started. That is absolutely true. I was shocked to hear they were from California.
Yeah. Oh well, I knew they were because you know, as you know, I'm a psych nurse. And I worked out at Sonoma State Hospital, later called Sonoma Developmental Center. And when they first got their name, they didn't have a record contract or anything. They played out there. And so I managed to play in the very same room that they played, because the guy who booked them, because they were nobodies, right? Just like me and my band at the time. And so anyway, that's my one claim to fame, is I played the very same room Creedence Clearwater played at one time.
I think that's amazing.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, you know, they were inducted. Creedence Clearwater was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1993, and John Fogerty refused to play with the other members.
Good.
And he's continued to perform as John Fogerty, perform CC&R songs to this very day. I had a chance to see him in concert right here in Paso Robles last year, and I missed it, along with Santana. And I'm really bummed about that, because they were both on my bucket list for concerts to see. But anyway, and the other members that he refuses to play with are still, well, they toured from, I think it was 95 to 2020 as Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
Right.
Okay. So John Fogerty, I think, is the only one performing today. So anyway,
it's too bad that Doug and Stu couldn't get their asses out of their heads out of their asses, because you know what? There's all of that stuff is spilt water. I still say, and John Fogerty, his latest thing is, he always said, I'd never play with them as long as I freaking live. But in his last, when he was last questioned in an interview, he says, I don't see that happening real soon. So there was a softening, and I'm hoping those two guys, because, you know, when they were the bass player and the drummer, I was fans of them. I didn't dislike them.
Not at all.
And they were integral to the sound. I mean, these are the guys he was playing with as he developed it. So some of their DNA leaked into his songwriting. And I would just love to see the three of them tour. As a matter of fact, I did a whole video. Get those three together, get the Police together, and who else was it? There was and get Grand Funk Railroad together, get their heads out of their asses, and then tour as a tour of original members, power trios. You know, that concert, Royce, that tour would outsell everything, whatever year they would manage to do that. I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
Yeah, sounds. I believe so. Well, I want to welcome George Music for All 4 Seasons, and Blood Sucking Freak is here.
Never a number one. They always got to number 2, George. That's right. And never a number 1 single.
Talking about Fogerty, just last year, I think, or the year before, he finally won his court case to get the rights.
Yes.
Back.
Right. That's what I was talking about, Chris. Is I covered that, and then I covered it on my channel. And evidently he saw the video and he responded to it because it was a congratulatory. He's one of my heroes. He really is. He's he's very
totally
near like a McCartney. Okay. He's, instead of Bruce Springsteen calling himself one of Paul McCartney's peers like he does in interviews, let's just take him out of that list and put John Fogerty right next to a Paul McCartney. I think he's a peer of one of the Beatles. All right. That's how good he is.
That's how good he is. I couldn't agree more. And Music Sanctuary, thanks for being here. I've seen John Fogerty several times over the years, and he's touring at 78. Wow. I mean, it makes sense that he's that old when he was playing when he was, what was it? 50?
And his voice is still okay. He's lost.
Yeah.
He's lost a little power, not any range, but a little power. He's starting about the mid 2000s when McCartney's voice started to appear to crack, but he could still sing them pretty powerfully. But you'd hear the cracks in his voice. That's what I'm hearing because anytime John Fogerty is a live YouTube video is on, I watch it. That because I'm not big of a fan, but he still sounds good. And I think all along, Royce, maybe you know this because you look up the information better than me, but hasn't he consistently outsold and outtoured Creedence Clearwater Revisited even?
Oh, I'm sure he has. I'm sure.
Yeah.
He has. Yeah.
I would rather go see him than them.
Yeah. He's a much bigger. He's a much bigger draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was great. I saw him recently. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Where'd you see him at?
At the Caesars Windsor here with 5,000 people.
Oh God! What an intimate crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah,
that's to me, 5,000 people. It's got all the excitement of a major concert, but it's got the intimacy, and you see individual people out on the floor and how they're reacting, and there seems to be a more listenable crowd when you got about 5,000 or less.
Oh yeah,
at a concert for me.
Hi, Melissa, Boomer of the Night. Thanks for joining us.
There she is.
Much appreciated.
Hey, you know what, Royce? I just shared a portion of a video you and I did on your show just this afternoon. It's out on it's my latest video.
You know what? I was wanting to watch it because I did notice it was up, but I was in the middle of trying to do that home inspection report. The home inspection I told you about, the home inspection from hell, where the entire bathroom floor I discovered at the far end of the house down in the crawl space, pulling myself with my elbows on my belly. And and finally made my way down there. The whole thing had looked really good to that point, and the entire bathroom floor was rotted out, black with rot, and it looked like it could collapse at any moment. And the only way to fix it is a complete bathroom remodel.
Oh boy!
This house is on the market for $1.1 million in Morro Bay. Anyway,
Well, anyway, I did want to say in that video, everybody should go over and see it because Melissa's in it. This is one where she actually,
she was part
on
of the
screen.
Yeah.
I had been threatening to release that portion of that video because Johnny's on it, you and I and Chris, and it's where we start talking about. First, we start off with Jan Winter. And Melissa kind of leads the conversation in my version. And then Johnny switches gears over to Greta Van Fleet, and we covered that whole portion, if you remember. So it's a good video. Everybody got to go see it.
There was a lot there, And if I haven't already said so, Groovy Lisa, thank you for joining us. So anyway, Lisa, I think I do want to show a couple of albums tonight. I don't have a lot of Creedence. And my wife always says, "Why are you always worried about how many albums you have?" Well, I'm not. But when I got a couple for whoever we're talking about, I do like to show them. And this is the first 8-track I ever bought, Bayou Country, Creedence Clearwater. And these songs just blew me away. I mean, Born on the Bayou, Bootleg. Sorry, folks, starting to show my age here. Bootleg Graveyard Train. What a cool trippy song Graveyard Train was. I mean, would you call that psychedelic? Would you call that psychedelic?
Almost.
Or no?
We've talked
great
about
rock and roll. Okay.
We've talked about that Creedence Clearwater has a bit of psychedelia, if not for just Suzieq alone.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
I hear touches of it on that track. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Good golly, Miss Molly, Penthouse Popper, Proud Mary. They do a great job on Proud Mary, don't they?
Number 2 on the charts for them. Number 1 for Ike and Tina Turner.
Okay, and Keep On Chooglin. I love that song too. But
every
one of these songs is just fantastic, and I absolutely fell in love with this when I bought the 8-track, and I like it as much today as I did then. I'll show one more. This one actually came out before that one, and it's Green River. Green River, and I'll run through the track list real quick here also. And of course, you've got Green River. Man, I need stronger glasses. Okay. Green River, Commotion. Let's see. Tombstone Shadow. Wrote a song for everyone. Bad Moon Rising. What a great song Bad Moon Rising is. That's just absolutely an excellent song. Lodi, Stuck in Old Lodi again. Let's see. Cross Tie Walker, great song. Let's see. Sinister Purpose. And then The Night Time is the Right Time. But anyway, this is another great album. I thought I'd show that's 2 really early ones, Green River and then Bayou Country. I think there were 1 and 2. I got a couple more I'll show later. So
Michael, know what, Royce, you were saying that your first buy of Creedence Clearwater was with the 8-track tape. Now, when I first heard them, I went out and I bought the Suzieq single. Okay, because my album money at that point I was early teens. Okay, and my album money was reserved for me to get all the Beatle albums. Gotcha. And so there was a couple of more that were just above Creedence Clearwater at the time, but I loved Suzieq. And then I was in bands, at the time, and around the time that I turned 15. We went to an old Catholic school, which had actually been a big stone edifice and everything. It used to be a church, but now it was a Catholic school. And they were having a school dance. And one of my biggest competitors at that time. Now, you got to understand, my competitors at that time were, at 15, were other bands that were trying to play at the junior highs and maybe a high school. Right. And at the old person's home and at the vet center, make $7.50.
Right.
Yeah, we split $7.50 a night at 15, right? And think, wow, and spend it all at Denny's. But the band, his name was Donovan Stark, and his band was called Stark Raving Mad, which I thought was one of the best. Oh, I was so jealous of that
better
name.
Names, absolutely.
Yeah. So when I finally got back into music in the late 90s, the band, I took his lead, and I called my band No Man's Land. My last name is No Land, No Man's Land. Okay. Just because, but his band that night was playing almost every track from the very albums you just showed us. And I knew he wasn't that much better than me. And I was in an original band. I was writing my stuff. So, and he was in this top 40 band, cover band. And that night I made up two decisions. I bought the 2 albums you're showing, okay, because that's what they were covering.
Right.
And I started learning how to play this stuff. That E 7th chord in the shape of a C 7th chord brought up to the 5th fret. Bong, gong, ding, ding, gong, ding, ding, gong, and it was so freaking easy to play. This is why I consider CC&R the world's greatest garage band, because even 15-year-old kids could play that stuff note for note.
You hit the nail right on the head, because my younger brother at about, I
Thank you,
would have been
Caitlin.
about 17. He would have been about 14. He took all of my CC&R 8 tracks, and I had probably everything that was out at the time, and he taught himself to play their songs. He also taught the rhythm guitar player how to play guitar, period. Same with the drummer, because he knew how to drum too. And the same with the bass player, because he knew how to play bass too. So at like 14 years old, he taught his entire band how to play, and they were all playing CC&R songs. And all the kids and little girls in the neighborhood would gather in our front yard where they set the band up and listen to them every night.
Yeah. All you need to know is all your basic major chords, your minor chords, your seventh chords, and your minor seventh chords. And 90% of what Creedence did was all within that realm. An intermediate guitar player could pick up a guitar book from them and start playing their songs after 2 or 3 weeks of playing guitar. Really?
Wow.
Yeah, the real eye opener, because that's when. Then I was 15, and I'm going, "What is he doing as a songwriter here?" Because I knew, as a matter of fact, before I even bought those 2 albums, my aunt and uncle lived across the street from them, where they practiced in El Cerrito.
Oh, okay.
So she had already told me about it, because I taught. My aunt and I were just chums. And she wasn't my blood aunt. She was married to my blood uncle. And she would talk about anything. She never talked down to me. She always made me feel like an adult. And I told her, "Oh, I really like this song." She goes, "Oh, the band's right across the street." Or they used to be. Now they've moved out. But we used to listen to them practice. I was ready to pull my hair out. Yeah, they were just a garage band,
Right. Hello, Jeff Davidson. Thanks for joining, brother. Good to see you here. Jeff Davidson, I tell you, Jeff Davidson was instrumental in me doing the first, which was just a record unboxing, I ever did. First time on YouTube, and had to do with an old vinyl competition, Talking Wax, where we competed, and I just did a show based on that competition we did. And after that, I tried another one, and then another one. And
Jeff is generation 1 on your show.
Oh my God. And I'll tell you what, does anybody know more about music than Jeff? I mean, every time we get stumped, he types in the answer, right?
He's always a great source in the comments.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So is Dr. Rick. We've got about 5 or 6 people out there.
I know James. Woo. And so many. Yep. That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Melissa, when she shows up, and
Melissa,
she's got a lot of knowledge.
Angela knows. Yeah.
And when we're talking about the right band, Caitlin is very
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Kate knows her stuff. Everybody that's not subscribed to Caitlin's she's changed the name again. James, Caitlin's Magical Corner, or
Kate's Magical Corner.
Okay, yeah. Everybody that hasn't subscribed to her, really, really go subscribe to Kate.
Yeah, and I think that was smart, Caitlin, because when I first started trying to find you, I would type in Caitlin's Corner, and there's a much bigger channel than yours that comes up, and you often don't even. So good rebrand. Very smart.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and her show has gotten so good too.
Oh, I try to make it every time that she's on. Sometimes I'm out of the house. But.
She gets hired to go to concerts and write up the show.
Yeah.
For magazines and stuff.
Dream job.
Yeah. She's really, really knowledgeable.
I hope your elbow's doing fine. She's still in recovery over that, aren't you?
She's still in recovery. Yeah.
Recover.
You're a sweetheart, Caitlin. We love you.
Seems like everybody's had something in the past year. I mean, Dr. Rick, and I had a hernia operation. I think you had one too, Michael, didn't you? But prior to mine.
Yeah, the year before you, and then you had your hernia operation. Then Kimberly got ill, had a heart attack, and then just this last week, my son had to have his gallbladder out, and he went into. That's why I haven't been making brand new videos where it's just me sitting down. Hey, everybody, welcome. And all of that for the last week is because, well, family always comes first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You got to take care of your loved ones. And so I've spent the last 2 days in recovery because I spent 2 days in Santa Rosa, which is a 3-hour drive back. We're a 1-vehicle family right now. And I've got my wife and my mother-in-law, who's 93 years old. I can't leave these women by themselves. And so I had to get back, and I felt guilty about, how it goes, Royce.
Oh, yeah. My work truck is not running right now. So we have this kind of a utility van that we use. And I was, using that for work. And then my grandson showed up from Tacoma, Washington. He's up there going to school right now. And he needed the van. So he's got that. So just right now, we're like a 1-car family, too. Just me and my wife and her car. And that doesn't double as a construction vehicle, though. We'll go do home inspections in it. But we won't go. I'm not going to pack it full of tools. I mean, some Mercedes Benz. But
no, you can't do that.
But I look forward to getting the van back and the truck running both.
I hate it when things like that go down,
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's not so much because I'm not a good enough mechanic to, I know I told you this at the beginning of last week's show when we were getting prepped for this, is I can put the key in and I can push the go button and steer real good. Actually, I'm a very good driver. Did it professionally for a while in my life. And so even did class 1 driving, big rig. But I'm not a mechanic, Royce. I don't have a mechanical bone in my body. All of my knowledge goes into, gizmos and tech.
Right. That's the direction I should have went in. When I was like 14 years old, I was tuning my dad's car up, and he taught me how to do his brakes. I'd be out there doing his brakes,
Yeah.
But listen, Jeff Davidson had to start dialysis, and I just want to say,
Jeff,
really sorry to hear that, and we wish you all the luck in the world. And
you're in my prayers, Jeff.
Yeah, in my prayers. Exactly. Sorry,
I'll say a special one for you tonight, Jeff. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, me too.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah,
I've had patients who had to go through it, and of course I had to be there with them as they went through, because my patients were developmentally disabled folks. And so Jeff, if you can imagine all that you're going through, and then them with the inability to temper the fear factor. Which, by the way, who am I to say anything like that? Because when I'm a patient, I'm the biggest crybaby, and fearful of the wrong. When I deal with something, I always think, well, that's the end. Right. Jeff, my prayers are out to you right this moment. I'm so sorry you're going through that, brother.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
sad.
Let's all say hi to
Dusty.
Dusty Spins.
Hey, Dusty.
And Foxo Chaka has joined us as well.
Hello.
Thank you both for joining us. The Sunday afternoon spring local underground FM played the first album by 2 unknown bands back to back, no commercials, Creedence and Zeppelin.
Oh, good Lord! Oh, what a story! I love
God, that is awesome. Wow!
Yes,
mind blown. Life changer.
That is a life changer,
and that's that. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, both those bands were life changers for me.
Me too.
Up to the point
and for everyone else who listens to rock, for that matter.
Up to the point that I bought Disraeli Gears by the Cream and Creedence's Bayou Country. I spent the last, 12 to 18 months listening almost exclusively soul music. And we did a show on soul last week. And I love soul
that was
music.
fun. I
it
like
was
that.
fun. It's funny. some shows are always going to be bigger than others.
You knew that covering Soul, you weren't going to get a lot of views. I knew that going in.
But
I was there just because it was a hell of a lot of fun to talk to you about it, man.
Exactly. But you know what? I did 3 shorts on Soul, and they all got close to 500 views. And I did them all at once. It took me about 25 minutes. And then I put them on every couple of days. And I got like, I'm going to say 1,400 views from those 3 shorts.
Wow. Congrats. That's great.
They were good. I mean, my watch hours and views went through the roof. I mean, like almost double from the shorts I've been running every week,
Right. But you know what, Royce? I think both of our audiences, my channel as well as yours, probably James's too,
you're welcome, Kate.
We're a classic rock group of people. And, when I shared portions of those videos over on my channel, I got lots of comments from people saying, Soul was okay, but don't even begin to consider it as having anything to do with rock and roll, which I personally disagree with. Not all soul, but some soul artists, especially like when you talk about Marvin Gaye or Stevie Wonder. As I told you, those
threading.
I mean, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, and Stevie Wonder's Intervisions tell me that isn't as good as any those 2 albums aren't as good as any 2 classic rock albums. They're that good. I remember, folks, the average kid, and Royce will back me up on this, in high school that was listening to Led Zeppelin, listened to Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder for the most part.
That's what I remember. Absolutely. They were all just kind of the same genre,
Right. But now that part of it is the way iHeartRadio came in, and then they started putting out classic rock stations that has, a list of about 150 songs, the same old 150 songs. And they try to make it look like the FM flavored of the 70s. But the problem is FM in the 70s would play Superstition by Stevie Wonder next to, a whole lot of love next to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye and exactly something from Creedence, which we're talking about tonight.
That's exactly right. Hey, let me ask Sir James. This is the first time you've been on the show, right? Mm-hmm. What were you a big Creedence Clearwater fan?
At first, I'd heard some of his music in their music in American Werewolf in London when they used Bad Moon Rising. And then I said,
that's a good
I like this song. I said,
right,
who is this band? And I waited till the end credits and I saw Creedence Clearwater Revival. I said, this sounds really interesting. So I went to my library, and you could borrow records back in the day. And I got a CC&R album. I took it home. I listened to it. When I heard Born on the Bayou, that opening guitar riff, oh, man, I was hooked.
That's that riff I was talking about where you play a C7 chord, bring it up to the 5th fret, and you just go gong, gong, dang, dang, gong, dang, dang.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, a beginner guitarist can learn that in an afternoon,
Right. I love their version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine.
I do too.
Mm-hmm. I love that bass line.
Right.
That's so good.
That's been covered and done well by several people. That song.
It only went to number 2 for them, but it went number 1 elsewhere, didn't it?
Yeah. Great song. I Put a Spell on You. I mean. Yeah.
The second record I ever heard from them. Yeah. That was the second record, and I go, wait a minute, this doesn't sound like Susie Q, but I like it.
Right.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
Wasn't that their first 2 singles? Put a Spell on You and Susie Q? There may have been another one that I'm not aware of.
I don't know if they were the first 2 singles.
Yeah, they were early singles, very early.
Early singles. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Put a Spell on You kind of kept them tied to the blues a little bit too. So.
Yes, and they stuck with that and some of the flavorings of suzieq. And John even said he would sit down in his room and he'd put his head into this fictional place, like Green River sounds like it's, down deep down south, right? In the bayou.
Yeah,
but it's actually a river here in the East Bay that John and Tom's father took them to go fishing and camping. And so he used that as the inspiration, but his head was in the south.
Whoa.
Well, we lost Michael. Well, Chris, were you a big fan of Creedence? How did you discover Creedence?
Are we there?
Through the radio station.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear you. I'll get back on.
No, I mostly got it through the radio station and like my dad's record collection, but they had like the greatest hits. So mostly what I listened to.
Well, this is interesting. Dusty Spin says he grew up with his mother playing Cosmosfactory on an 8-track over and over. Love that. As a matter of fact, speaking of Cosmosfactory, I just happen to have a
I remember that album cover.
Album right here. Yeah. And Creedence Clearwater Revival, Cosmosfactory. And I think I'll read the playlist. I only have one more Creedence album. I've shown 2, Green River and Bayou Country. This is Cosmosfactory. And this starts out Ramble Tamble, Before You Accuse Me, Traveling Band. That's a great song. Ooby Dooby.
Looking that's Roy Orbison.
Is it Roy Orbison? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooby Dooby.
Looking Out My Back Door. That's a great song too. Run Through the Jungle. That was kind of a Vietnam song, or definitely a Vietnam song. Up Around the Bend. My Baby Left Me. Who Will Stop the Rain? I always really like that song a lot.
I love that song. Yeah.
The rain. I heard it through the grapevine. And Long As I Can See the Light. I like all of those songs, all of them. And here's the crew back when they all got along and liked one another.
Nice.
Yeah, it's too bad when I have one more, but I'll wait a little while. Let's see, it's 7:12 right now. Yeah, I was going to try to limit it to an hour tonight, just because of some things that are going on. I Put a Spell on You as a classic. Yes. That's absolutely true. Thanks, Dusty. Groovy Lisa. My dad gave me a copy of Bayou Country. No kidding. Your dad and I would have got along. That's the first 8-track I ever bought, along with Disraeli Gears by the Crate.
Yeah, that was great.
My favorite is Green River. Yeah, that was their first album, Green River. That's right, Kate. Yeah, so the chat it's hard to keep up. Every time I look up, there's an arrow pointing down because I'm so far behind, And always. So James, how have you guys been on your show? Do you set like a theme, like you're going to talk about a certain band, a certain genre of music?
Sometimes it depends. Like sometimes we just have a chill stream and we talk about whatever music we want. And AGK comes up and he gets new movies or he gets new records and stuff. And shows us all stuff. So we kind of change it up a little bit. Yeah, we change it up a little bit too. I just want everybody to know it's going to be March 31st, which is next Sunday. A good friend of mine, Dan McNew, who's got Just the Facts Man. Dan's covered some amazing thing. His podcast goes back years. He was the one that filmed the space shuttle exploding that we all saw 1,000 times on TV. That was his video. He was just out there filming the space shuttle and it blew up while he was filming it. But he's got trippy stuff like that he does. And so he's really big into this totality solar eclipse that's coming up. Okay. And we were going to do a show and it was going to have to do with things with moon in them, like Bark at the Moon and moon. So many of these Marvelous Day for Moon Dance.
Yeah. Well, we were going to do a show like that, and then all of a sudden, this guy who's like the leading expert on solar eclipses said he'd come on the show, and we were going to do it the night before the solar eclipse. But something came up, and so Dan asked if we would move that to next Sunday, and we are. We're going to have this a show that's very different from anything I do on the solar eclipse. But, you know, I do have other channels like tours of famous places and things like that. So it's really a good fit for those kinds of channels too. Not so much the music channel so much. But anyway, so encourage everybody to join us next Sunday. We're going to have an expert here on the solar eclipse. And I remember Dan McNew, just the facts man, he used to co-host with me for a long time, actually. And then he got involved in other things. He hasn't been doing much. But he gets these special projects like this totality solar eclipse is coming up. And he's right there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is like one of those perfect spots. That whole area, you know, miles in either direction is going to be flooded with tens of thousands of people wanting to see this because it's not going to happen again for 20 years. Wow. So anyway, it should be an interesting show, a different but interesting show next week on the solar eclipse, the total solar eclipse. I can't remember how many minutes it stays completely blocked out, but it'll be interesting. So anyway, so James, so yeah, we kind of do that too. We've been trying to pick kind of a topic, and we'll stick with it as long as we can. Then we seem to drift off into all kinds of other things afterward. You know, Michael's down here wanting to come back on.
Hey, there I am. You guys didn't know I was actually the Invisible Man as well.
That we know now because you're still invisible.
Wow! Look at this place.
Michael, did you hear what I was saying about the total eclipse?
Yeah, I sure did.
Eclipse show next week with Dan the Man. You were starting to co-host when Dan was still co-hosting.
Yep. You know, the way I look at it, Dan, and then toward the end, it was you and Dan. And when I really got connected with you, you were still doing a few videos with your partners with
Lou Mars.
Yeah, Lou Mars, but you were still also doing videos with people who were real Kiss fans, things like that. But when Lou came in, Lou and I have similar backgrounds. I'm probably about 10 or 15 years ahead of him as far as in my musical life. He's still on the road and everything. So I kind of came in. I think I'm your official third generation co-host at this point, right?
You are third generation. That's
right.
Yeah.
And Dan, I always saw as the official co-host when Lou and I were on. Although Lou sometimes would take that position as well, but I always saw the show. What really turned me on to the show, Royce, was you and Dan doing your stuff, man. And Lou was there, and I really liked that, and that's when I got involved.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Let's all welcome P401. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
We've got 320 videos. If you're not a subscriber and you want to subscribe, come join us, and you're welcome to come on the show and, you know, be a co-host, a panelist. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
That's what I like about your show, Royce, is the open forum. I really do. I think that's one of your strengths.
You know, as excited as I am about seeing people coming back, I get real excited about seeing somebody new as well, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, totally. Because, you know, people come and go. I'll go on to a show, and all of a sudden I'll see 20 people I used to see on my show. I haven't seen them in a long time. It's like, where'd you guys go?
You know? Right. Yeah, I wish we could. I'm hoping Bruce gets re-energized. I'd love to see him on the show again.
What the hell happened to Bruce?
Well, we talked a little bit about that yesterday, Roy. Sorry. But first of all, his job is really involving him. I don't know what he does for a living. I consider him a friend, and I know very little about Bruce because I love his mind and his expressiveness, and he's so much more eloquent than me. You know, I'm a punch and counterpunch cowboy kind of commenter, and he's thoughtful. And when he's in the mix, that's awesome. And I also would love to see David from Safe and Sound.
Yeah,
because you know, he's kind of like Bruce. He's very eloquent. He's got a good set of ears. I've mentioned that before.
Oh, we all know that. Yeah, he's really got the ears for the sound.
Yeah. Maybe if you did an invite a week ahead of time on a special, you know, whatever it is that you want to talk about that you think,
sure,
you know, because David does a lot of A/B comparisons. He understands.
He does A/B/C/D comparisons.
Yeah, you know? and he understands the record making business.
I know he does. Yeah,
very well. And so if that comes in to, you know, do that, and of course, maybe if Bruce got a week ahead of time, he might be able to carve some time.
Okay,
I miss the hell out of both those guys. I really do.
Totally, yeah. You know, David was with us when I was doing kind of a series on the Beatles, going through album after album.
Yeah,
and I still have a few of those to do too. But anyway,
you know, Harry from Harry's Music Room, I don't think he even cohabitates this part of the planet, but yeah, you know, he's often on Rachel's channel.
I know.
I love Harry. I think he's got you know, he's out on the bars, which is the last thing I was doing, was acoustic in the pubs with another gentleman. And I love his, you know, I love his whole makeup. You know, he could offer a lot to this show. So maybe reach out.
Yeah, no, I could. Yeah. You know, I want to say something. Paul 401 says, "Sorry, Royce, it's me, Paul. I changed my name." Now, there's 2 or 3 Pauls that come on the show from time to time. Is this Paul from Colombia, my old friend going way, way back? Paul from Colombia? Because there's also, you know, Psychos Platters is Paul, and but I don't think he's changed his name. I think recently I saw him. Okay, love having coffee cake with everyone in Royce's house. Yeah.
Amen to that, Fox Ochaka.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I need
Chris.
I need, you know, it's not enough to just tell someone they have an open invitation, because the bottom line is you got to reach out. You know, David has popped on, you know, for a few minutes a couple of times, and I've immediately put up a link and tried to get him to join us, but
he was great on the Yellow Submarine episode we did.
Oh yeah, that was a fun episode. That's where I put the green screen up and put another screen in front of that with props all over it. Had a whole bunch of little yellow submarines hanging on it and all kinds of funny stuff. In fact, I used that same picture of that for my celebration for getting 1,000 subscribers. Currently at 1,057, and pretty excited. It's still climbing. It's still growing. And,
I watch him all the time. I'm subscribed to Harry, and I at least watch his videos. I don't often type in, but I always give him a thumbs up.
Yeah. No, Harry's been on my show a couple of times.
He's a serious Beatles LP collector. He just peeled one of the Butcher covers, and he only brought it down halfway on purpose. So now you can see, you know, the Butcher cover as well as the paste over. I mean, these things are worth tons of money, folks.
Oh, you know, I don't know if you were on my show when I mentioned that my nephew bought an original, not covered in butcher paper.
Yeah,
and he paid $300 for it.
Wow.
Paul is the one from Colombia, Royce.
Yeah, he's the one from Colombia. Yeah, him and I go back a long ways. The same show with Caitlin and Jeff Davidson and Bill Kay and just a bunch of us. We're all on a show together. And Paul was there too, and he's living down in Colombia. That's got to be fun. Jeff, Paul McCartney. So anyway, as I was saying,
I love Harry's sense of humor. He's king of the one-liner dad joke kind of thing, and I mean, right off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a quick thinker. You know, and I do think pretty fast. But you know, Harry, with with the one gotcha line is the master, man.
Yeah, this is what Paul's talking about. We go all the way back to the Coffee Talk days. That's right. The show we were on, Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk was the daily show, but then he had the Talking Wax, where you competed with you brought 3 albums to the show and told a story of what the albums meant to you. And you competed, and there was a company called, I don't know, Spinners Records or something, and they would give free vinyl, Coconut Cake, Pepperidge Farm. Sorry, just ate the last piece. So anyway, enough of that. Let me show this now, because
that's funny. That was my story too.
If you don't have any Creedence Clearwater, I highly recommend.
Yep.
Chronicles.
That's the one.
Oh, I gotta get that one.
I highly recommend this. This is a compilation, and it's 2 albums.
20 hits. 20 hits that every one of them
Exactly. Wow. I'll pull one out because it is colored vinyl.
Yeah, that's the album that I used to get played around my house. Like, nobody had. Well, there was a couple of originals my dad had, but it was basically the greatest hits.
Nice I'm a album guy. So when I listen to Creedence, I like to listen to their albums. But my wife is a major Creedence Clearwater fan too. But that album is the way she wants to listen to them most times. She'll listen to Green River. All right. But or the later one with Willie and the Poor Boys, that album. But the one she'll put on, and often when we're both working around the house, that album, Chronicles. And I would say that's one of the best, greatest hit albums in history.
And in fact, I'm going to run through the. I'm going to run. I agree 100%. I'm going to run through the playlist real quick because, I said,
please.
If you like Creedence but haven't had any to listen to lately, you're going to with this one you're going to get Susie Q, I Put a Spell on You, Proud Mary, Bad Moon Rising, Lodi, Green River, Commotion, Down on the Corner, Out in the Street, Willie and the Poor Boys, Fortunate Son, Traveling Band, Who'll Stop the Rain, Up Around the Bend. I know. Run through the jungle, looking out my back door, long as I can see the light. I heard it through the grapevine. Have you seen the rain? Hey Tonight, Sweet Hitchhiker, and Someday Never Comes.
Wow.
I mean, if that's not greatest hits, I haven't heard one yet. I mean,
put that sucker on at a cocktail party or a coffee collection or a book club meeting, at the break, and everybody will be happy in that room.
Oh my God. I mean, it's a fantastic double album compilation. There's very little that you can compare with it, actually, as far as, the White Album, and there's some things out there, of course, but
as a compilation album,
exactly,
that's up there with You Sent Me Endless Summer, and of course, what was the compilation before Endless Summer? There was a famous one. I had that one.
Okay,
for the Beach Boys. But anyway, Endless Summer is another one of those great compilation albums, that if you're just a casual fan of the Beach Boys, get that album and you'll be happy all day. You won't be switching between tracks or anything like that. It's wonderful.
Right. Caitlin,
I have Endless Summer on CD.
Velvet Cake for the Win, Caitlin. Yeah. Well, you know what? Endless Summer was such an iconic video too. I surfed for many years. I haven't been out in about 4 years, but I keep threatening to go. What's funny is my granddaughter was coming to visit me one Christmas, me and Betty, and she was bringing the boyfriend she was living with down with her. She was living up in Chico. She got her degree up there, and
not too far from me.
Yeah, working in the insurance industry. So she goes, "Hey, Papa, he wants you to teach him how to surf. He's never been surfing before." I said, "Oh, great! That's just the motivation I need." Okay, and so what happened is the very day before they were going to show up and we were going to go, somebody was out boogie boarding at the pit in Morro Bay, got hit by a great white shark and killed, and that's exactly where I was going to take him. And that just kind of blew my mind.
What am I?
Yeah.
What am I?
I can't even imagine taking somebody out that day, to that same spot. Yeah. So, I mean, I have never seen a shark, surfing.
Thank you.
I've seen
That's
them.
it. Could you go back to the, I didn't even see who it was. Yeah. Sounds of Summer has supplanted Endless Summer for the Beach Boys. I stand corrected. Thank you, James. See, I told you. James is there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. James. Totally.
Very good.
Totally wealth of knowledge.
Yep.
But I have had at least one near-death experience surfing. I just got back from Australia surfing, and I bought a board there in Australia, carried it through 3 international airports, got it home, in one piece. I go out at the Rock at Morro Bay, and I've been surfing in Australia. We've been going up and down the coast surfing, and I thought I could surf anything now. So I got to Morro Bay on one of these big days where you get the rogue sets that are like twice as big as the already big waves, and fast and powerful. And I started to paddle out, and I jumped off the rocks, and my leash snagged on a rock, and it pulled me back and bumped me into the rocks because it was snagged on it. And so I didn't realize that I should have never gone any further because it nicked the leash. And here comes a big wave. I turn around, start paddling for it. It just annihilates me, and my leash snaps. My board's gone. I mean, the board's like a big life preserver once it's so buoyant.
Yeah.
My board's gone, and I was held down forever. I felt like I was in a washing machine in the dark, flailing around. You don't even know which way's up. I finally start to see some light, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I could have held my breath for another second. And all I did was get sucked over the falls and pushed down to the bottom again in that same turbulence. It was like, oh my God, I'm done. Finally, I did surface again. I don't know how I held my breath for so long. And I surfaced just in time to look up, and the third wave was about to hit me. I took a couple of gasps of air and took a deep breath and tried to drive for the bottom to get below it, but no. Same thing happened again. It happened to me 2 more times. And finally, I made it over to Morro Rock, which is like a state monument, and clawed my way up. Every time a wave would come in, there would be a surge of water up into the rock. Then it would come down. I want to fill my wetsuit up like the doughboy, And so I finally got high enough where that wasn't happening onto a little trail. And I walked the little trail back to the beach, and there was a crowd of people around my board, which had banged into the rocks a bunch of times, had a bunch of holes in it. The board I brought back from Australia, my pride and joy. Anyway, let's go back to Creedence Clearwater. Stay on subject here,
Yeah.
So anyway, it gets a little, when you have that kind of an experience, your motivation to go back kind of slows down.
Right. But, yeah, I hear you. You know what? Since we're talking about Creedence tonight, another great film. It was out on, you can buy it, of course, but it was on Netflix at one point, was them playing their final concerts in England, and an accompanying live album came out of it. What was it called? Live at the, was it the same place Zeppelin did their thing with, what was that, Chris?
The O2 Arena?
Yeah. Was it the O2? Let me check here real quick. But the album is great, and the movie's great. Let's see. Where did I go here? Okay. Get down to discography.
Well, in the meantime, while you're looking that up, I've got to say that Foxachaka knows her box sets. One of the things I unboxed when I hit 1,000 subscribers not too long ago was the Jimi Hendrix 8-album vinyl velvet cover box set, which was made in 2000. I was 24 years old when I unboxed it. It had never been taken out of the shrink wrap. 8 albums.
Wow.
And yeah, no, I absolutely loved that thing. So anyway, I thought I wanted to share that. And
all right, Royce, I got it. It's live at it's called At the Royal Albert Hall.
Okay.
And then in parentheses, it's also subtitled At the Royal Albert Hall, London, UK, April 14th. I believe it was 1971, was it? And it was just before John or Tom left the band. And they are so tight in that. And we talked about this a few months ago. When you watch the film, the audience, now these are young people, just like now where you go to a Motley Fool concert and a woman's topless, shaking her boobies all over on top of some guy's shoulder, right? And they're all, right? Here in the Royal Albert Hall, these were just the same kind of young people, just wanted to go to a concert just like them, but they're in awe. And they, being British, they're reserved a little bit, but as they come to a culmination, they are rocking and rolling and everything. But they were there to hear the music, folks, and that's what's missing in today's music. It's all a visual party scene.
That's right.
Whatever gets you through the night, that's fine. I was well oiled several concerts in my life, but not to the point of that kind of abandoned behavior.
Right. Yeah, so, let's all welcome Novice Nick. Hey, Novice.
Now there's another guy that should be off more often.
Absolutely.
Hi, Nick. Good to see you.
Groovy Lisa said she grew up in California and never went surfing. You know what? I have a confession to make. I was 40 years old when I got on a surfboard for the first time.
Wow.
My next door neighbor was from San Francisco, a real waterman, had a 37-foot sailboat. We'd sail out to the Channel Islands and go surfing, or to the ranch at Point Conception. And him and all his friends, they surfed, they dove, they free dove, they fished, they did everything in the water. They were real watermen. And so he got me into surfing. And my wife and I were getting ready to, I hadn't actually surfed with him yet, but it was him talking about it all the time. My wife and I were getting ready to take our first trip to Hawaii. And I said, damn, I can't go to Hawaii and not surf. It was about two weeks before we left. I went down to Morro Bay, rented a board from a surf shop, and tried to go out every night after work. And then took off to Hawaii and actually caught some waves. It was amazing.
Wow.
Had a great time, no regrets. There's nothing like surfing in Hawaii. You can ride you can ride a wave shin high for like 100 yards,
Yeah, I've heard. I've never surfed. I took a couple of scuba lessons and was going to try to get into diving, but that never panned out. But man, kudos to you, Royce, because I am a firm believer in don't retire your ass. Find something new. If you're 70, find something new to excite your ass. Right?
Well, that's what I've always tried to do. I spent many years riding Harley Davidsons all over the country.
Yeah, me too.
And
not Harleys, but bikes. Yeah.
Bikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always, my wife says that about me. I got a pilot's license in the early 90s. And went out and bought a 4-seat airplane. There's just always that next adventure waiting around the corner,
That's why I love you, Royce. I got to tell you, because in my life, I've taken some U-turns and into some pretty exciting things, not to mention here, but I love that about you. You embrace new things even in later life, and Even
I just
doing this show at your age.
Yeah,
man, you're not ready to retire.
No, I'm not
You're
ready to
just
retire.
getting started, dude.
Exactly. That's how I've always felt. I never really think about the age that much, or like, oh, I'm a certain age now, I shouldn't do this. I'm a certain
Me
age now, I
neither.
shouldn't do that. It just doesn't even occur to me.
No, it doesn't either for me.
Until I get really sore.
I'm always looking for a new mountain to climb, and
exactly.
And I strongly encourage anybody to do so. It doesn't have to be mountains. If it's a hill, but gain ground, gain elevation, because the day we all pass away, that opportunity ceases for good. So here's your opportunity, folks, here and now.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Well, Novice Nick says artists should not fly in small planes. Well, you know what? I've got some stories. I mean, we flew to San
I agree,
Jose.
Nick. I've got zero heights.
I flew my family to San Jose one day, and I thought I'd never get my wife back in the airplane because we got into such terrible turbulence once. But I finally said to her, "Hey, Betty, let's go flying. We'll go to." And she started to contort her face and tell me where to go. And I said, San Jose, where the largest mall in California exists. It's right next to the airport. And across the street was a raging waters for the kids. So we started going up there pretty frequently. It was a way to take a nice little trip. And so one night we're coming home from San Jose, and my generator went out, and so it was no longer charging the battery. Well, the battery's not charging. Your radio doesn't work anymore. At Paso Robles Airport, where my plane was kept, it's called pilot control lighting. You click the microphone 5 times and the runway lights come on. Well, when your battery's dead, you can't turn the runway lights on. So I'm flying home over the mountains, and it's a little trippy, but I did a lot of night flying, and I actually kind of liked it. So I'm flying home over the mountains. My position lights on my wings are out. My whole dash is blank, and some of the instruments operate off vacuum. They're not all electric, but it's hard to see them when the lights are all out. So you're sitting with a flashlight, and pretty soon the fuel gauges, which are electric, they've been on empty so long, your mind starts playing tricks on you. I'm flying over the mountains, have no lights, and my fuel gauges have been saying empty for a long time. And it's starting to kind of like trip me out a little bit, So finally we get back to Paso Robles Airport, and I can't turn the pilot control lighting on because I have no battery, no microphone. So anyway, I'm thinking, well, sooner or later another plane will come in and they'll turn the lights on. They stay on for a long time. Well, nobody ever came in. So I said, screw it. Got a little lower. There was kind of a faint glow from the runway lights. And of course, not the runway lights, but the actual landing strip lights. And there was the blue runway lights. And I thought, screw it. I'm just going to land on anywhere I can, and out in front of the fuel and all that if I have to, where the lights are on. And so I come in to land, and I hit what's called ground effect. There's like a cushion of air, and the plane starts going like this. And I push the throttle in. I'm going to do a go around, and my wife's just losing it. What are you doing? I wanted to land. I go, I didn't feel comfortable landing. The plane was getting squirrely, and I'm doing a go around, and she was really pissed off about that. So I do a go around. I come in this time, and I just ace the landing. We taxi over to the tie down. But anyway, that was quite an experience.
Hats off to you, Royce. I have an inner ear, so I get vertigo, and it happens with heights and angles. I feel like I'm being sucked over. So becoming a pilot would have been very cool, except that it's not conducive to my makeup, but my hat's off to you, brother.
Well, I'll tell you something, Michael. I've had some pretty severe ear infections from surfing. You pick up a lot of bacteria out there, especially after rains. You're not supposed to go in the water for a while because everything's been washed out of, all the drainage inlets and the gutters, you name it. It all winds up in the ocean over here, and it's all sitting close to shore. And so you don't go you don't go for a while. That's all there is to it. But anyway, even without that, you wind up getting ear infections. I've had some friends that had some real bad ones, and I've had some bad ones too. And I was starting to develop a little bit of a inner ear balance thing, from that.
Yeah. I hear you, Lisa. Just my fear of heights. Alone.
Anyway, guys, I've got to take off. I promised my wife an hour tonight. We had some things we got to do. And I want to thank everybody.
Show. We had a good
show. I want to thank everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. Chris, Michael Nolan, the bottom line, Sir James, everybody check these guys out, when they've got their shows on. You won't be sorry. They're all excellent. So anyway, thank you guys, and appreciate every one of you. And that's what's going on in Royce's world today. Good night, everyone.
Night, folks.
Take care, everybody.